Welcome to another episode review of Transformers Prime. Today, we're taking a look at the episode Operation Breakdown. In this episode, Breakdown is captured by Mech, but he is rescued by an unlikely savior. We begin this episode with Bulkhead and Breakdown battling in an abandoned Russian town. Now, I originally thought that this was Chernobyl, and I was going to mention how this isn't the only time that the Transformers have been to Chernobyl, and I was going to reference Dark of the Moon, and Laserbeak, and Shockwave with his big hentai tentacle monster thing. But no, turns out this is not Chernobyl, but is actually a ghost town in the Kamchatka Peninsula. Wait, am I pronouncing that correctly?
Kamchatka.
Excuse me?
Kamchatka.
That is what she said.
Okay, yeah. As evident by the big volcano in the background, this is not Chernobyl, but actually the Kamchatka Peninsula. Which, as it turns out, this is also not the only time the Transformers have visited Kamchatka either. Because in an episode of the Japanese series, The Headmasters, the Titans Fortress Maximus and Scorponok fought atop one of these very volcanoes. So, back to this episode, Bulkhead and Breakdown battle for a little bit, but just before Breakdown can lay the coup de grace on Bulkhead, Mech show up and capture Breakdown. On board the Nemesis, Starscream urges Megatron that they go and rescue Breakdown, but Megatron says that he's on his own.
If Breakdown allowed himself to be captured by those smaller than him, weaker than him, he deserves whatever fate awaits him.
Pretty cold of Megatron. Makes me wonder if the tables were turned and he was the one captured by humans, would he want his Decepticons to come and rescue him? The Autobots are equally less inclined to save Breakdown. That is, except for Optimus Prime, who makes the argument that they can't let Cybertronian biology fall into Mech's hands.
Full disclosure, we intend to pull you apart. Break you down, if you will.
Even Silas is making a pun out of Breakdown's name? What is it with this guy? Why does this remind me of being at the dentist? So, while the other Autobots go off to rescue Breakdown, Bulkhead, Miko, and Agent Fowler have a little movie night, which is super cute. And we only get a glimpse of one of the movies in this double feature, but it's Dino Lizard vs. Five-Headed Ape, which is obviously a parody of King Kong vs. Godzilla. You know, the old one, not to be confused with the new Godzilla vs. Kong movie. But just like how I mentioned in my last G1 review how they stole sound effects from Star Wars to use in Transformers, if you listen carefully, you can even hear them use Godzilla's signature roar in this brief fake movie clip. So, while Miko convinces Bulkhead to go after Breakdown himself, the other Autobots have discovered Breakdown's eyeball. Which is pretty gruesome to think that Mech have plucked out Breakdown's eyeball as a trap for the Autobots.
What are you doing?
The optic receptors might have retained the final images seen.
This immediately reminded me of that scene in Wild Wild West where they do kind of a similar thing. Also, doesn't Breakdown's eye on top of Ratchet's tool kind of remind you of the Game Boy camera?
It's a trap!
Would this be a rollout kind of trap?
Evacuate now!
So, with the other Autobots running from Mech's explosion, Bulkhead comes to Breakdown's rescue.
What are you doing? Getting you out of here. Yeah, I don't believe it either.
And with Breakdown and Bulkhead surrounded by Mech, it ends up being Starscream with a squad of Viacons to their rescue. Although, not for long.
Now destroy him.
Tough break, Bulkhead. Maybe in the next life.
But thankfully, the real cavalry has finally arrived, and Bulkhead is saved. And the episode ends with Silas foreshadowing their next project, Chimera. Well, this was definitely one of the darker episodes of Transformers Prime. And I don't mean just because the whole episode takes place either at night or inside dark tunnels and stuff. The sheer body horror of this episode definitely makes it one of the darker episodes in this series. Speaking of which, Breakdown never did get his eye back from the Autobots. Did they just keep it? You think Ratchet has it in a jar somewhere? I mean, I know they're enemies and everything, but could you not just give the poor guy his eye back? Also, why couldn't Breakdown get a replacement for his eye? Surely, if Starscream could get a replacement for his whole lost arm, Breakdown could get a replacement eye, right?
Surely you can't be serious.
I am serious. And don't call me Shirley.
Oh well, it was really interesting seeing Breakdown kind of hesitate about scrapping Bulkhead after he saved him. I wonder if he did think of joining the Autobots after that.
But you...
Do you plan on joining their ranks anytime soon? No? Then be done with it already!
And it is interesting how Starscream was basically like, okay, I saved you, now when I eventually betray Megatron, you're going to be on my side, right? When you first watch this episode, you might think that it's a Bulkhead character building episode, which, to be fair, it is, but I think it might be more of a Breakdown character building episode than a Bulkhead one. I mean, not only is this episode the one where Breakdown loses his eye, but this episode also draws Breakdown's allegiances into question. I wonder what would have happened if the Autobots showed up first instead of Starscream. Would they have offered Breakdown the opportunity to join them? Would he have accepted? Not to mention that Breakdown also has to choose between supporting Megatron or Starscream when the time comes. And, as we'll see in episodes after this, Breakdown definitely seems like he's out to prove himself after he was beaten and nearly destroyed by a bunch of puny little humans. It really makes me wish that we got more of Breakdown in this series. He seems like he has the potential to be a much deeper character than just the heavy-duty himbo that he appears to be. Well, what did you think of this episode of Transformers Prime? As always, let me know down in the comments. Remember to like, subscribe, and do all that other fun stuff. And I'll see you back here for the next episode of Transformers Prime, Crisscross. Another great and very interesting episode of Transformers Prime. So, I'll see you back here next week for that.